All right. Hey, look at that. We even framed up all pretty well. Yeah. Welcome, everybody, to the Cyber Sleuth Show. It is a little difficult to say, though, since we changed the name of it a little bit. We are live in Orlando, Florida, down at the big IACIS training event that we do every year. And if you're not a member of this wonderful organization, you absolutely should be. And you can take a look at it. We're going to talk about that more as we go on. It is very difficult to be in here. With me, I have Gene. Gene, pronounce your last name. So I'm going to miss
Shantz.
Shantz. All right, thank you. He's the president of IACIS, and he's the one who we harass every year, pretty much.
Pretty much.
If you didn't see the first year, I highly recommend going
Oh
back. I'm
God,
not going to say anything more about it.
that was an interesting one.
Yeah, it was great. I highly recommend just going back and looking 3 years ago at our chat.
Yeah, no, we really appreciate you coming down and doing this. I love it. It's great to have a partnership with you guys doing this stuff.
Yeah,
So
I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. Just bringing random people out, surprising them with quick questions. I have none for you this year, so
I'm glad.
you know me
Well, that's
well
because
enough.
Brent's not here right now. Brent Well's not here right now. That's why. Yeah, he sandbagged me on that first one. So
That was funny though. That was
it
probably the
was
best
funny.
surprise I'd ever given anyone
Yeah,
to this date.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like I said, I'm not going to tell you what it is. So
Yeah, you got to go watch.
anyway, how's this year going? Obviously, this is day for you guys. It's day 5 now, right?
Yeah, day 5 for the
For the
students.
students.
For some of the staff, it's day since Wednesday last week, so it's been a week and a half for some of us. But it's going very well. We had a great setup process, went really smooth over the weekend. We're very fortunate. The main Caribbean ballroom was open on Saturday, Sunday, so
Oh, nice.
they were able to get in and get not us, but the Caribbean was able to get in and get the table set and all the power dropped way early, which made it so much nicer. And so, but yeah, the course has gone great. No issues. Little minor, fires to put out here and there, but that's to be expected every
Mhm.
year. The hotel's been great, working with the hotel staff, and so I'm very pleased with the way this year has rolled out.
Yeah,
So
it's beautiful here. If you guys have never been down to this venue before, it's beautiful. It
yeah,
was hard. I went out for lunch. 'Cause my family's at the pool,
it's really crowded now.
and it was it
Yeah,
was. Oh my gosh, it was like several other conferences going on.
yeah,
But it's hard to come back in because you get out there. I'm from northern Ohio,
right.
and it's like in the 50s there right
Yeah.
now.
Oh, I know.
So
Yeah, it's snowing. It's snowing in my hometown right now. So
oh my,
one of the beautiful things about coming down here this time of year is when we leave, winter's trying to hold on, but by the time we get, summer's coming,
yeah,
and so it's kind of we kind of miss that whole transition. So I'm looking forward to getting home for cooler or for warmer weather at home.
yeah, absolutely.
So
What state is home?
Arizona,
Oh,
I'm in Flagstaff, Arizona. So people think Arizona, you don't have snow in Arizona. We're at 7,000 feet. So
elevation.
so we're only 60 well probably 75 minutes south of the Grand Canyon.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah,
Okay.
we're at 7,000 feet. So
Yeah,
we can get a lot of snow. This year's been fairly mild, but
I
it's
never guessed that
trying to
either.
yeah, it's very high.
Hey, for people that don't know who IASIS is or what IASIS is, can you give them the basic rundown? I guess we just make that assumption that people know. A
Yeah,
lot of people have no idea.
yeah, there are a few. We're getting better. We're getting bigger and bigger. We are so I'll just throw this out. This is the 35th anniversary of
Mhm.
this organization being here, and we are an all volunteer organization. All of our staff and our training staff, our certification staff, our website staff, our communications and marketing, all of our staff are 100% volunteer. Not one person receives a paycheck. Not one. There is one person that receives a paycheck, and that's a contract bookkeeper, and that's it. Everyone else,
The important
every
job of
yeah,
making
that's a
sure.
problem we have
Yeah.
to pay for. But everyone is 100% volunteer. The organization was founded back in 1990 by a handful of police officers up in the Oregon area, up in the Oregon region, and they were the cutting edge of what was forensics. There was no forensics being taught anywhere, and they started doing some. I actually have a presidential report I just did for the membership meeting coming up on Tuesday,
Hmm.
and the founding fathers of the organization. I wish I knew their names. I can only think of one or two of them, but they really were visionaries for what digital evidence it was, what they forecasted digital evidence to be.
Hmm.
And when they started recognizing what digital evidence was, they uh, uh, they started reverse engineering operating systems. Back then it was Back then it was DOS and things like that, and then the fat file system and breaking it down. Well, okay, what actually happens on disk? Where can we find the evidentiary value of this to be able to prove an investigative case, whatever it may be, whether it's fraud or homicide or anything like that. And they understood the value and how important digital evidence would be to any investigation.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are a lot of, I mean, me and my team and our entire organization currently stands on the shoulders of those giants, because back in that time, I came through here in 2007.
Same year.
And yeah, right. That's right. I forgot about that. There's a few others too. Kathleen Shane came through here in 2007, and I just met a couple other people that came through 2007. That was a great year. That was when we taught it at the Sheridan. We were teaching. Mm-hmm. It was the first year at the Sheridan.
Maitland, right?
But and Maitland, yep. And when I went through it, there weren't hardly any universities that were teaching anything. I think there was like maybe one or two universities in the U.S. that was doing, at least to my knowledge, I could be wrong on that, but that was actually teaching some type of digital forensics course. And I remember looking at job, I'd get recruited offers, I'd see job applications, and they always would say, they want you to have, so many years of experience doing forensics in the private sector, and they weren't requiring degrees because degrees weren't being offered. Well, then as time wore on, now you got just about every university in the country has got some kind of a forensic program, whether it's network forensics, cloud forensics, or digital forensics, or a generic digital forensics. Those courses are great because a lot of times they can embed scripting and programming into that, which is a huge valuable. I would never discourage anybody from learning how to script, but what I really find fascinating is the giants that came before, and the visionaries and the what do you call it, the pathfinders that came before. I mean, and I mentioned this in our opening statements, and it's in my presidential report. People don't know, if you're a digital forensics user, you know what NCASE is. If you are a digital forensics investigator and you don't know what IACIS is, but you use expert witness format or EO1, people think, oh, that's an industry standard, or FTK Imager. Those are industry standards. Well, the developer of Guidance Software was one of the early IACIS members.
Oh wow!
And they developed and perfected the EO1, and that has become the industry standard. There have been other companies that can also do EO1 and different types of imaging formats. Mm-hmm. You have the raw image from DD, which is a Linux generic, but you have others. I think Axis Data had their own version. Yep. But the core of what a compressed image file is came out of IACIS, and there's so much history there. Chris Stipich just won the Lifetime Award the other night. We gave him a Lifetime Award for his time. He went through he went through the second ever IACIS course.
No kidding.
And we went to dinner with him a few years back, and he starts talking about it, and I was like, man, I didn't realize that so much of our digital forensics processes and procedures that are taught in the universities today were founded, developed, and matured right here in IACIS. And when you think about it from that perspective, it's it's not just impressive, it's astounding.
It is.
It's astounding.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, you want somebody to do a podcast with, if you want somebody to do a podcast with, do one with Chris Stipich.
I will grab it.
But he's unfortunately, he usually comes the first several days because he's here with his company, Digital Intelligence. Yeah. But if we could ever get him to stay for a podcast or just do one, because he could run through a litany of things that I can't even repeat because my memory sucks. But it's really amazing to know how much of what IACIS came from that. And the core principles are, hey, we're cops. We want to teach cops because there's no other way to get this training. There's no other way to learn how to find digital evidence. So they developed developed IACIS. They put together the organization, wrote the bylaws, and started doing the training for, you had to, back in those days, you had to be a police officer to attend, because they didn't want suspects to learn how to avoid it, right, and all that stuff. And then, of course, as forensics became more and more national, or more and more private sector, and just growing worldwide, we felt like the board at the time, I wasn't on the board at that time, but in 2012, uh, they went to the membership and it was decided to start opening up to non-law enforcement members because there's people that can give back that are not in law enforcement, and there's some pioneers that are non-law enforcement that are just just digital geeks anyway.
Yeah.
And so it opened up to non-law enforcement, but our entire organization, like this particular event, and just I can give you some growth from back in 2013 when I came on the board. In 2013, well, when we went through in 2007, they were running a class average somewhere around 150.
Yeah.
When they
It still
and
seems massive though.
I think it took a big
Massive.
I think it took a big step up when they went from because they were at the Hilton before that. In 2006, they were at the Hilton,
Okay.
and I think they increased their class size by going to the Sheraton. That was a big step up in growth.
We were the
And
first ones at the
so
Sheraton.
we were the first ones at the Sheraton, and I'm guessing at the class size it was somewhere around 150. It might have been 180, but I come on the board while we were still at the Sheraton, and those class averages were about 150, maybe 160. And I remember one year we had a really big year, and I think we hit 180, and we had people clamoring to get in. One guy says, "Look, I'll sit in the corner. I'll just put me on a table on the corner. I'll sit over there." And we did, and we got him in. And we realized we're outgrowing this place.
Yeah.
And so we ended up doing a lateral move to the Marriott, but it ended up being almost I don't want to say it was a poor move, but because it was good. The Sheraton was starting to have some issues with leaks, and they were doing renovations they couldn't get done in time, and we didn't want our staff and students to have to go through that.
Sure.
So we did a move to the Marriott. And the Marriott, we didn't grow. It was the same size classrooms, and in some ways, it was almost worse because we had a smaller number of breakout rooms for the specialty courses.
Right.
And so then we were really limited, and that's when we came down here to the Carib. But since 2012, we went from 150 average to now we've been breaking 300 for the last several years. I want to say probably the last 6 years, 7 years, we've been breaking 300, average of 300.
Wow.
Above. Our biggest class, I think, here was 100 or 350. And then we thought that's almost too much for our certification staff, who are all volunteer, who have to now certify all these that go through the BCFE course. So we brought it back down to 324 as our peak, and or as our sellout number. And then, but our specialty classes have gone from 3 to 5 specialty classes back in 2012, 2013. And we've got over 14 specialty classes, and that doesn't include the vendor classes, where our vendors realize what a powerful event this is, and they want to come in and they actually sell their class at our event at our price, so that we can draw those people in and they find value in it. And a lot of times those vendor classes are more expensive, not if they're sold outside of our event.
Right.
So it's amazing that we can demand that, but it's the volunteers that make it happen. We've got 160 volunteers here this year. That includes our board of directors. It includes our office staff, our training, our operations team. 160 staff here this year. That are brought down here to put this event on, but that's only a fraction of our staff. We got over 300, or I think we're pushing 400 certification coaches that are helping do this certification around the globe. So we have an external training program. We have some external classes. We have an external certification program where they can pay for the certification, and they go through it, and that certification body all over the world. We got them in Europe. We have a regional coach in Europe. We have a regional coach in APAC, or regional coaches in APAC, and they cover the whole world. And so that you don't have to attend the course to take the certification. It's not going to be easy. You better have training somewhere else, but you can attend and take a certification on the outside. And one of the things that we do here that are, I don't really want to call them competitors, because they're in it for the money program, but there are other training programs out there that you pay for the course, a lot of money for the course, and then you have to pay a lot of money for the certification to achieve. And in some cases, they're an industry standard in the private sector. But one of the things we do is, if you want to take one of our training classes, as long as you qualify for us ethically, you're going to get the membership for free with the purchase of your class, and your certification, if it's a class that has certification, is going to get included. You have one opportunity to sit for the certification following the class. If somebody attends the BCFE and they get done next week, they get their certification, they think, I don't want to do the cert, I'll do it next year. Nope, you get one chance. It's got to be the first opportunity after. And then after that, then they could sit it and take it. They could pay the fee and come back and take it externally down the road. So, but the organization's growing significantly. and I feel like I'm talking a lot. Sorry.
No,
No questions
explain
here.
away. I'm listening.
But one of the things that we just recently did is we held our first ever BCFE class in Australia back in September.
Okay.
Yep, it was a very small class. We didn't sell quite as many seats as we were hoping for. Some of the agencies didn't come through that we were hoping to have, but the class went over exceedingly well. I think we taught the entire class with 9 instructors, and which is phenomenal. We've never taught a class that small or with that few number of instructors because there's so many blocks to cover and be prepared for. But it was great. It was a huge success.
Mhm.
The students that were there, we actually have one of our staff members that came back here, got certified, and he's now back on staff here.
Oh,
He
no
loved it
kidding.
so much. Yeah. So our staff here represents 14 countries. Our total students count represents 20 countries that are here at this event. Um, so we did our first ever BCFE in Australia and back in September. We'll go back to Australia again in the future, but it probably won't be in the next year or so. We'll have to
Mhm.
wait a little bit. But now that we've done it, we know we can do it, and we have a foothold. Then we can go down there when we start getting calls for demand. But we're super excited to say that we now have a class that's coming up in Bucharest. Bucharest. I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I said Bucharest. I mean Budapest. It's in Budapest. We can look it up on the website. In Budapest, that's coming
Do
up
you want me to
in
jump over
October.
there?
Yeah, we could
Jump
do
over
that.
there?
We'd like to throw some plugs this way. So we'd really like to see
Yeah,
see
let me
us
see if I can
sell
make
some
sure I get
seats
the
over
right
there.
one over there. There we go. So
There
it's
you
up,
go.
and we can see it
Yep.
there. All
So
right.
move your screen over so you can.
Yeah, they can't see that one.
No, I know, but you need
Oh,
to be able to navigate
you
to the.
need to see
There you
that
go.
one. Gotcha.
So see up there,
Ah,
third
stand
from
by.
the
Let me get rid of that. There we go.
third from the left. You got the training
Okay.
from our website. You can see if you click on the drop down,
Mm-hmm.
you can see in-person training and go down to there,
Okay.
and you can see the Orlando event, European training, and an IACIS specialized event in Reno. So let's go to the European training one
Okay.
and click on that. And this is our BCFE, our first ever European. I shouldn't say our first ever. We did one many years ago in Germany. I think it
Mm-hmm.
was in 2005 or 2006. But this is our first in almost 20 years to do a BCFE in Europe that is solely hosted by IACIS. We had been doing like a private contract for many years,
Uh-huh.
and we're not doing that anymore. So we're trying to get in with law enforcement and the private sector over in the European area. And we have a trusted partner that we're partnered with, and one of our lifetime members who is hosting this event, did a lot of the legwork, and we're super excited for this. Yeah, scroll down, show them the hotel.
Nice.
There's our hotel.
Oh, wow. That's
And
the hotel.
I have been fortunate
That's
to go to
beautiful.
Budapest. I've been fortunate to go to Budapest one time.
Uh-huh.
I was there for about I want to say 2 days in total, a Friday afternoon to leave on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful city, and it's gorgeous. So I'm super excited about this
Yeah.
event. I'm hoping that maybe I can go back over there for this event. So you got Budapest, the dates right there, October 6th through the 17th.
Okay.
Those seats are open and for sale now. There's ways to sign up online.
Just go
And
over to IACIS.com.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then
Okay.
we've got another first ever training, which is in Reno, and this is a specialized event, which is a 1 week class in Reno. We just signed contracts with that a couple weeks ago.
Uh-huh. Now if I click
And
this one,
yep,
it'll
click
take me.
that one.
All
I'll
right.
take
We'll
you to
click this.
Reno.
There we go.
And
Look at all that.
yeah, we're offering all these classes, advanced mobile, forensic Linux, and hopefully we'll get enough seats sold in all of them we can put them all on. But it's there's the hotel there in Reno. We held a board meeting in Reno in January to go check out the casino, or not the casino, but to check out the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And then the training committee came along a week after and went there as well and saw it. And we're super excited. The hotel is excited to have us. So, that one's coming up in January. And we've been asked for years and years and years to do an event on the West Coast. And we just haven't been in a position to do it until recently. And so we're super excited about this to get this out there. And I'm hoping that law enforcement who can't come over here, or they say, well, we can't send you for 2 weeks because of this or that, which that happens, I understand. But now the Reno event's we're going to start it off with a specialized course of 1 week at a time,
Okay.
see how it goes, see what the interest is and everything. And then hopefully that could develop into maybe a complete event on the West Coast halfway through the year.
That'll be awesome.
So we're just going to, we want to grow slow. But super excited that we now have some groundbreaking events and IACIS making IACIS history here. So
Heck yes, and we will send. We can send an email out to our list, just about
yeah,
your two events,
and
so that help you out there.
going around talking to a bunch of the vendors while passing out thank yous and plaques with our marketing director Zuba Medora. A bunch of our vendors have all said, "Hey, we want to be involved. We want to go participate in Reno. Let us know. Just let us know." And so, we're excited, and hopefully, I'm excited. I think it's going to be a
Yeah.
great event, and it's only a week long. So
And the vendors help you keep your costs down for the students. Yeah.
they do.
Yep.
Yep, they do. But it's also a draw for the students too, right? Because they get, like especially in the BCFE class, we got students in the BCFE class that don't know how to, I mean, I don't want to say they don't know how to turn a computer on, but they're very, I know I got a screen and a keyboard, and I know it does what I want it to do, but I don't know anything else about it. And so I actually had a gentleman pull me out or on opening day. He caught me at one of the breaks, and he's like, "I'm brand new. I just got pulled off a patrol. They said you're going to this class, and I replaced somebody that else was supposed to go to this class. Can I succeed?" And I said, "Look at me, dude. I did it. You can do it." So, if a caveman can do it, I'm the caveman. So, yeah, it can be done. It's not easy. It's going to be a lot of work. So I will tell you, to anybody out there listening that's considering it, do it. It's the most rewarding certification you'll ever achieve,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
I'm a little biased.
Yeah.
You're a lot biased. I think this is some of the best training that you can get in the space, bar none. Because I've taken a lot, and no offense against any vendor training, they're there to teach their tools and understand how
That's
the
correct.
tools function. But if you want to understand digital forensics and digital investigations, how it works, because you have OSINT classes now, so I want to include the investigation piece.
Yep, absolutely.
Then and they're going to be on Reno as well, right? Yeah.
Yeah, OSINT is currently listed out there in Reno.
Perfect.
There may be a scheduling conflict with the instructors, so we're hoping that can still continue.
Yeah,
But
hopefully so.
we're hoping it'll still go, and we can overcome that hurdle. But
Yeah, cool.
but I'm excited about OSINT because I actually have several people from my team, my forensics team where I work, that I'm hoping to get out there for that class.
Oh,
So
nice.
we're hoping it'll all come together.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to disparage, and I know you weren't disparaging anybody, but I wouldn't want to disparage the need for tool specific training, because
Right.
there is an element of, okay, we are tool agnostic. We teach this is what happens on the disk when the operating system starts to write a file,
Right.
or this is the artifacts the operating system leaves behind when a user interacts with a keyboard. And we want them to understand that, so that when they use their tool, they can validate, is my tool finding what I'm looking for, and is it finding it correct and accurately?
Yep.
But the benefit to vendor specific training is you're going to learn how to use their tool to go get that. And
100%.
a lot of us are smart people, and I think I used Incase for a year before I ever actually went to one of their training courses. And I went to the training courses and like, wow, I've only been using 5% of what this tool can do.
Yeah.
And then you learn all the little tricks and things like that. And every one of the vendors have that deal. And I think it's good to be able to testify in court, if you're testifying in court, which many of our folks do, that not only have they been trained vendor agnostic and they understand what's happening at the disk level, they can say, I've attended to training for the tool I'm using,
Yep.
and I can testify that the tool is valid, it is working, and we validate it, and I know how to make the tool do what I need it to do.
100%.
So it's very, very valuable.
Have to have that core level of understanding.
Absolutely.
And then you understand better what the tools are doing, because you've already done it either by hand or
That's
by
correct.
some very, very basic tools to get in there.
Yeah,
Next level.
if I give you an analogy, I don't know if this is the right analogy, but if you take your car to the mechanic, you want the mechanic to have a fundamental understanding of how the engine works. They need to understand that, it's V8. There's a timing sequence that has to happen for the compression, the spark, and the ignition, and everything, for it to all work right. A good mechanic can listen to a car and say it's got a dead cylinder or it's missing a cylinder. So now we troubleshoot and find out why. Some mechanics will say, hey, it's got a computer, let's plug in the computer. But if you don't know what you're looking at on the computer, it doesn't mean much.
Right.
So there's a benefit in both areas. We want our forensic examiners to be the mechanic that understands how the engine runs. So when they hear or they see something, they're like, something doesn't smell right. And I'll give you an example. I had a tool. I won't mention the tool's name. I was still in detectives at the time, and I had a detective come in. He goes, hey, I got this USB card that's supposed to have, what we call CSAM, a child exploitation material. And I got a card. The girls told me the photographs are on there, but I need you to look at it. So I break out and I just got a brand new version of the tool. It was a brand new, and it was a complete major version change. And so I go in there and I look at it, and the SD card had been reformatted. So if you don't know, you're not technical. When you reformat a card, it wipes out the operating system and it puts a new data structure or operating system on, or a volume structure on the volume, but the data doesn't necessarily get overwritten. Some of it will, but not all of it. And so you can do what we call carving for a file, and you find the file based on headers and footers, and you can sometimes pull all those pictures back out. So I carved this thing and I didn't get anything. And I was like, I just got a bunch of black things on the screen. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. He said they're on here. Why are we not seeing them? So I thought, I'm going to validate this. So I went back to the old version of the same tool, carved it, all the photos showed right up. It's like, wow, this is, okay, we got a problem. The other tool's not working right. So when I actually would go in, I went back to the other tool or to the other the newer version, and I actually manually carved the file and kicked it out to its own file, and there was the photograph. So it had something to do with the way the program was rendering the photographs. But if you're going through thousands upon thousands of images, and you're looking for that, and all of a sudden it doesn't show, then you might not, you may overlook a critical piece of evidence, right? So little things like that's why we teach validation and why validation is so critical.
Yep. And I'm here to tell you, I ran, again, no companies mentioned, I ran a software development team for a large forensic software tool. Bugs happen. Bugs are in every piece of software on the planet, and it's up to you. They're going to correct it as quickly as they can. Obviously, it's never intended, but you got to validate your tool.
There was a very high profile court case, unfortunately, that the prosecution lost. I won't mention any names or any agencies or even the case itself, but it was a very high profile case, and it's unfortunate because one tool reported one thing, and another tool reported another, and it would have been nice to see somebody go, wait a minute, we got to fix this, and we got to figure out which one's correct, which one's accurate, and unfortunately that didn't happen. And why it didn't happen, I don't know all the ins and outs or the details, but validation is absolutely critical. And as an investigator, they're not always guilty. That everybody's entitled to a strong defense. I mean, I think there's a case where a firefighter. It's been a number of years ago now, maybe 8 or 10 years ago, where a firefighter was accused of having a child exploitation material on his computer. And through the diligence of the investigation, they found out that it was actually the wife that put the child exploitation material on the computer as a way to get back at him or to try to win whatever. And so, we don't want to be we're not just there looking for the conviction or looking for what do they call it, incriminatory evidence, but the exculpatory evidence is critical as well.
Yep.
And so that's what you have to have. And that's why we drive our ethical standards so high here, because if you can't be trusted to take the exam without cheating, I can't trust you to testify in court. And I don't want to breathe the same air as you when it comes to forensic conversation, because I want to be able to stand in court and say, I did everything I could. I chased every lead I could, and these are my findings, and let the jury make the decision.
Absolutely.
Exculpatory and or incriminatory evidence.
I love that. In my early years, I had a mentor of mine say, "Hey, whatever the detectives or whoever's bringing you this case, and they say this is what we're looking for. Your goal is to disprove that. If you can't disprove it, then go ahead and get the rest of your information and say that it must be true."
And that's actually one of the hard things about a law enforcement investigation is when you get a red herring, you got to chase it you got to chase it all the way down. And that's why the law enforcement investigations can be so lengthy. It's because, especially for a major homicide or something like that, you got to be able to say, you don't want to give them the out and say, well, enough to draw doubt in the mind of the jury, right? That's where the Saudi defense from some other dude did it defense, and that's a good one for your keychain. Some other dude did it, but you don't want to give them that out. And in the private sector, in incident response, you don't have to chase every red herring. You just need to be able to show that this is how they got in, so on and so forth. It's not quite as involved, but I love this organization. It's amazing. It never ceases to impress me. Every time I come in here and I walk in the back of the Caribbean ballroom and I see it, it's just like, wow, this is a huge room. I can't imagine taking the class in here.
It is.
I've been fortunate to teach in there a little bit, but I don't teach much anymore, especially at this event. So,
And I saw somebody did at the beginning of this event, they did a time lapse
oh yeah,
of everything.
that's our
I think it
marketing
was day
team.
one of students coming in.
Uh,
It was way up high. You couldn't
Yep,
see
no,
anyone.
that was actually staff.
Oh, was it
That was
staff
staff,
coming
and
in? Okay.
that was going from tablecloth tables to everything set up, computers,
That's amazing.
everything. It's cool.
It was neat.
We've
Geez,
done that every year, and
get a
this
big
year
picture.
this it was cool. Very time lapse. It was neat.
Yeah.
And 35 years we've been doing this. I don't think
That's right.
I would
It's the
challenge
35th anniversary.
I would challenge your viewers to name me any other company anywhere in the world that has made it 35 years without paying a penny in payroll.
Yeah.
I would challenge anyone, and to be as successful and grow year after year after year as we have. And it's absolutely amazing. And it's not my doing. It's the volunteerism that's here, the people that love this organization, that are dedicated to it and dedicated to the forensic profession.
I
You
think
know,
you have a little to do with the
yeah,
growth of the
I
organization.
don't take that. I don't take that credit.
You don't have to take it, but I'll tell you.
I
I
don't
think
take
it
that
might have a
credit.
bit to do with yourself and the rest of the board
They're
and everyone that volunteers gives their time.
absolutely, and I don't mean to say I don't commit my time. I do,
Yeah.
but it's But one thing I was having a conversation with somebody else. It's another volunteer, and I was like, you know what? One thing is very clear. This organization is bigger than any one person. It's even bigger than any group of people. I could leave tomorrow. This organization is going to move on. It's going to roll on. I may not like the direction it goes. I may not like who takes my seat, but the organization is going to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
The industry is going to demand it. So, and but it's an amazing place, and we love that you come down here and give us a little bit of airtime and share your mic with us.
Anytime you want to come on, even off year,
Off here.
not like in.
You know me, I can talk.
Yeah.
I could talk you out of snowshoes. Or sell
I'm
snow.
gonna get
Sell,
your contact
sell
information.
snow to an Eskimo, I think is the word I was looking
There you
for.
go.
But
Yeah, it's your 35th anniversary as
it
well.
is. It is.
So, and we didn't say that leading in,
Yeah.
but you and I are 18 years ago, 18, 17.
2007. So yeah,
Easy quick math.
18. You're testing my skill set and my IQ. Well, in 2000, yeah, we're 18. In 2027, it would be 20 years since we attended the course.
Yeah, holy cow.
And I've been on the board since 2012.
Yeah.
And I've been blessed to be voted in as president for the last 7 years. And I just got voted in for president again starting my 8th year,
Awesome.
which is a huge honor to me. I love what I do as president. I love this role. But yeah, so here I am,
That's
still
awesome.
plugging away.
That's
So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for everything that you do. And if you guys have not, again, heard of the organization, go to IACIS.com. Yeah. Yeah. To IACIS.com.
IACIS.com.
Go check it out. And you can go check out the training page with the events coming up in Reno. So if you're more of a West Coast, because we're in Orlando right now, if you're more of a West Coast person and want to make a shorter trip, hey, right there's your perfect opportunity to get exposure to the organization. Again, we're 2007 graduates. We can both attest.
Yeah.
It was.
I see your message from Megan there. Shout out to the IACIS volunteer trainers who are
yeah.
awesome.
Let's put that up on the screen. So
And
I
couldn't say that any better. They're amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, there's diligent because you have how many? Again, I can't even begin to describe the room size in there. Because you say 300 plus students in there, and you think, oh, okay, I get a good idea of it. No, once you see it, then it gives you the better idea because you have a coach for how many?
We have a coach for each row. I think it's 6 students. So there's a row coach for each row. There's 300 students, 303 students this year. We had some last minute dropouts due to budget restraints from the federal government, but for the most part, but it was nice because it allowed us to clean off we were able to clean off our waiting list so people could get in. But I remember walking into, I know I probably need to wrap up, but I remember walking into the Sheraton.
It's our show. We can do what we want.
Oh, there you go. I'm talking to the boss. I remember walking into the Sheraton, and I think we had 150 students in there, and I was in awe. I was like, "Holy!"
Big.
I've never walked into a classroom that big, and I just couldn't believe it. And now I walk into this, and it's like we're more than double that. Like, holy cow! This is amazing. And we do it every year, and our operations team has it they've got it so fine tuned. We've been here long enough now. The hotel knows what we're doing, and they just stay out of our way. Actually our event coordinator for the hotel, I talked to her, and because we lost our event coordinator from last year, and this gal stepped in her place, and she was what they called a room boss for the other event coordinator from 2 years ago. And she goes, "Oh, I love you guys so much." She goes, I asked to take on your group because I got to work with your group before." And she goes, "You guys
Oh,
are the
wow.
best group that we have." So that's great. That makes it
That's very
nice.
cool.
Yeah, very complimentary of our staff, and complimentary of the hotel to give us somebody we're familiar with.
And it's beautiful here. I bring my family down every year,
That's awesome.
and they're hanging out at the pool right now, and we're in here.
You can't blame that. It's
And
what,
it's
90 degrees out.
yeah, yeah.
So
It's literally how far away from Disney? Like a mile, if that. It's
yeah, we're not
literally
far.
across the
It's,
highways
yeah,
over here.
it's like 10 minutes.
Disney
So,
and Universal's about a 15-minute drive up
yeah,
the street.
yeah,
if that.
it's very close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all kinds of things to do.
And I think you can actually get discounts to attend Disney by coming. If you're staying at the hotel, they got packages you can buy and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I
very
think
cool.
so. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Gene, thanks so
Well,
much.
thank you,
for
man.
hanging out.
Appreciate
with
you
us again.
having me.
Appreciate
So,
it.
sorry, I've been looking that way the whole time. So you got the bad side of my head. I'll turn this way. How's that?
There we go. There we go.
So,
All right. Again, guys, if you haven't checked out the organization, IACIS.com, I'll put some show notes down. So if you're watching this and after the fact in the replay mode, then you can just click on the links, make it a lot easier for yourself. Other than that, we're going to go on live throughout the week. We're here. Today's Friday, right? I lost track of what day it is. So
it is
we're
Friday.
here again Monday. You guys are here all next week.
Yes, we are.
Going through and sort of the advanced classes. So make sure you go to the site, check it out, check out Reno. Until then, guys, we'll see you soon. Take care. Thanks again, Gene.
You
Appreciate
bet.
it.
Thank you.